I'm doomed. It's just not the house for that. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens.
Anthony, we've talked about this. I don't need to feel guilty. I'm
Sounds like something you need to feel guilty for. Sounds like the telltale heart thumping and bumping under those floorboards to me, bud.
No, you don't need to make me feel guilty about how much crap I hold on to and
emotionally.
But also physically, also
sure.
Actual objects in my house that we talked about this just recently about the notion of the space that I have is filled with things. You know, I have more space than is good for me.
Sure.
And it's filled with objects that I find to be essential to my life, even though I haven't looked at them in a decade.
Right. And like, you do have a lot of, listen, I will say this, you do have a lot of space, and you could fill that space with your things. But I find you often forget that there are 3 other people with 3 other lives worth of things living in your house.
Yeah, but those people, they don't need the stuff I need.
Yeah, and their stuff isn't cool.
No, they don't have like 30 years of cool stuff hanging around.
They got garbage stuff. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, dude, the stuff that my kids have, you don't want any of that stuff.
Trash.
Garbage stuff.
Okay, but so you have a lot of things. We know this. We know that you have trouble getting rid of things. We know this too.
That's right. And I have trouble getting rid of things because I love the feeling, though I don't indulge in it often, but I love the feeling of reconnecting with an object that stirs nostalgia, right? That brings me back to another time and place. Oh, wow. Yeah, that. Oh,
sure.
That time, the thing.
Your member berries.
My member berries. I have a problem, but I do enjoy that. I do think that brings a moment to my life that I wouldn't have otherwise. I wouldn't remember. I have a terrible memory, and I wouldn't remember that time when I went to that one E3, and then they handed me that thing, and now I'm looking at that thing and like, oh,
yeah,
they don't even have an E3 anymore.
A keychain for Kingdoms of Amalur.
That's right.
And
remember that?
And then if you didn't have that, you wouldn't think back on Kingdoms of Amalur.
No one would remember Kingdoms of Amalur unless they had that king keychain. It's a completely unmemorable game.
That's right. Okay, yeah. So what? So what, dude?
So what if I told you?
What if I told you throw it out?
You would. You have. You often do.
Yeah.
And I ignore that, as I do from my wife and all the people that care about me in my life.
What if I told you what about the thing that we said to try before, where you take a picture of the thing and then you throw the thing out?
Well, this is what I want to tell you about, because now there may be a solution for me, Anthony.
A camera? Did you just discover the camera?
Have you guys heard of these things? Cameras?
You can make phone calls on them.
That's right. They have
Subway Surfer.
That's what I was going for. I want to tell you about a new research paper from MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, CSAIL, for those in the know.
Okay.
That would be all of the listeners of We Have Concerns.
That's right.
CSAIL.
Because we all know.
Yeah. We all know. We're all in the know. They just published a paper about their newest, I'm going to say invention.
Okay.
You probably would say app, but I think it's grander than just an app.
Okay.
It's an invention.
Sounds like an app. Sounds like you're about to justify an app.
They call it InteRecon.
I went to InteRecon once. Let me tell you something. That is the least fun convention you can go to. The moment you scan your badge, they're like, "Where'd you get that badge?" I'm like, "I bought it." "Where'd you buy it from?" "Do you remember what day? What time? Do you have any proof that you bought the badge?" I'm like, "Whoa."
Full InteRecon experience right there.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, I'm getting what I paid for and I'm getting it quick. On the other hand, very unpleasant. I thought I would have a good time and I was wrong.
You know what, though? If you're aiming to purchase a new, very harsh lamp, InteRecon is the place to go. Like single point of light.
Like a gooseneck work lamp that you can just shove into somebody's face and it makes the squeakiest noises.
That's where you want to buy it at InteRecon. The prices, the competition there, the variety of harsh lighting.
Oh, it's like, well, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a squeak factor of 9 or are you looking for a blindness factor of 7? Like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we all want one interrogation lamp that can do everything. Like everybody wants. If we could have that, there would be no need for InteRecon. It's about figuring out what works for you. I can do a 30-minute YouTube review of this interrogation lamp, but at the end of the day, it's going to depend on your individual needs.
Yeah. Hey, and the people YouTube, you're interrogating.
That's right. Hey, YouTuber, I'm going to stick a lamp in your face and tell you, no, you don't get to do that. If you're doing a review, part of a review is a conclusion. You got to stand by your opinion.
That's right.
And I'm going to shove the lamp in your face, and now you're getting interrogated.
The only thing I don't like about InteRecon is
just the one thing
is the waterboard alley.
Because of the lines, or because you've
yeah, I mean, it takes forever to get through there.
Yeah, that's the real torture. You can tell. You can tell the United Nations. That's the real torture. The waterboarding is fine.
Yeah, it's the lines.
That's right.
Anyway, that's not what InteRecon is. InteRecon, which also could be, my least favorite Decepticon.
Mm-hmm.
InteRecon is.
Do you want to record that? Do you want to record that one too, just to have it? Do you want to do that bit just to have it?
We'll do a bit. We'll get an option for options.
Optional Prime.
No, InteRecon is an app, not available to the consumers. This is only for science. This is for science. It allows you to take a 3D scan of an object.
Sure.
Any object. Bring it into a virtual environment. So this works with your Quest headsets, your HoloLenses, your Apple Visions Pro. Bring it into a 3D space.
Yeah.
Which already I'm like, oh, that's cool. Okay. All right. Any object can capture any object, get a 3D model of it, look at it from any angle.
Sure.
But no. That's not what InteRecon offers. InteRecon
I would hope not, because there are 100 different things that do that already.
Right. InteRecon allows you to add functionality to the object. So, do you have an old stuffy, an old stuffed animal that had floppy ears and arms? Well, InteRecon allows you to add points of articulation to your model, so it too can have floppy ears and arms, just like you remember.
Oh my God, you really did just discover cameras and computers.
Just like you remember.
Oh my God, you literally just discovered cameras and computers. What?
No, also, Anthony, guess what?
What?
Do you have an old iPod, like an old iPod Shuffle?
You know well, not a Shuffle, but you know that I have many old iPods.
Yeah. But you don't want to hang on to those. Now you can use InteRecon to scan your old iPod, and then you can give it functionality. You can say, hey, these are the buttons. These are what the buttons do. You can even send MP3s to it so that when you press the button in virtual reality, it plays the MP3 just like it would in the real world. IRL for those in the know.
So did you just discover VR chat? Like, did you just discover 3D modeling? What is the thing here?
This is InteRecon.
What is the thing that makes this? What is the thing that makes this a thing?
Well, it's recreating. They're trying to recreate items that I've been holding on to, and so I can. So here's what I'm thinking. Here's why this is my story, and here's why. Listen, I know there's versions of this already. They don't have cool names.
No, I mean, some of them do.
InteRecon's a pretty cool name.
InteRecon is a pretty cool name. Listen, I'm going to say this. Right now, this sounds like you just discovered a 3D modeling app with marketing that's specifically marketing to you.
Well, it's not marketing because it's not a product yet. It's an MIT CSAIL paper.
CSAIL.
And so what they're envisioning here is a way you can, they show a TV, like an old TV,
sure,
and you can define what it does so that when you push the button on the front, it turns on and plays a video that you send to it, like an old timey video.
Yes.
So you can try to actually recreate look and feel of objects in your life. Now, here's what I was thinking about. This is what it triggered in me is a comparison to the fact that you and I are of an age where I'm sure you somewhere have a box of photographs.
I mean, I'm younger than you.
Not that much.
I mean,
Not out of the physical photograph age.
I mean,
I'll tell you that.
I'm old enough that it matters. You know, that's the difference between you and me is it's enough to matter.
Well, I have a
do
big ass
have
box of photos, and then and now I have digital photos that take up no space.
Okay, humble brag.
No physical space, but I can peruse them at any time, and they're digital, and I don't feel the loss of physicality for a photo. Right? I have a photo that's a physical thing that I carry around with me that's hard to move from place to place, that takes up space, that is, and in a similar way, I used to have a lot of DVDs and video games, and of course there's a rights issue, and there's a, we can remove the ability for you to play those things. I want to take that off the table for the moment. But
sure.
Because
we're already talking about one technology that already exists. We don't want to talk about another technology that already exists. That may just muddy the waters of what we're talking about here.
They have plans that I'll get to in a second for InteRecon. But I do think it's an interesting notion to attempt to their specific use case here is things that spark nostalgia that don't have an actual function. So there's this simulacrum that they're willing to create, this shell of a thing that doesn't have any insides. Your virtual iPod from InteRecon doesn't have any circuitry. It just kind of mimics what it does. And the TV mimics what it used to do, but it may give you enough of that rub to stand in for the physical thing. And I'm wondering if you think this is analogous to the digital photo versus physical photo, that if the thing is only there to spark a memory, can we accomplish that in a digital form? Okay. Now, you were saying just take a picture of it. I don't think that's enough, but maybe you do.
Number one, I do. I do think it's enough because it's going to be a picture of your specific thing. Because here's what's up. If you had, let's say, an old teddy bear like you were talking about, and your old teddy bear was not like, look, we're not living in the Velveteen Rabbit age. I mean, maybe you were. Once again, you're older than me. But we're talking about if you had a stuffed toy that you really cared about, it was probably a mass-produced stuffed toy. Let's say it was like a very good Garfield. Yeah. Because I haven't mentioned Garfield yet this week.
Still has the suction cups on the hands and feet.
Yeah. I mean, let's say it's the suction cup one. Let's say it's hang in there Garfield. And you have a hang in there Garfield. If you scan your hang in there Garfield and look at it as a 3D object, or let's say you have a memory of a 3D Garfield and somebody's like, oh, I've already scanned a 3D hang in there Garfield. You can download it to your InteRecon and you can look at it. Don't worry, I've already scanned it and added the articulation and all that stuff for you. Cool. Very good. Thank you, friend. I don't think that will spark as much joy or memory in you as a photo of your specific Garfield. That's the thing that's going to be.
It's a scan of my specific Garfield.
Now, it could
be a scan.
But here's what I'm going to
my specific one.
Sure.
Because one of the things they talk about in this paper is like you're scanning my Garfield is missing the eye because it got scratched off that one time.
Sure.
So you're literally scanning the object you have, so that you can then get rid of it.
Sure. But then my counter argument to that is, what do you get from this 3D thing? Because here's the deal. You're thinking of it. This is how they get you, Jeff. This is why I say you're being marketed to, even though this is an academic project. I think we can agree that most academic projects that come out of MIT that are like this are definitely tech incubator projects, right?
It's CSAIL, S-A-L-E.
Yeah, let's not pretend it's like, some kid's Eagle Scouts project that they're doing for good, right? They're going to get out of MIT and they're going to be engineers and they're going to be app developers and they're going to be, they're coming up with a thing. You spend a lot of time in virtual reality. We have not interrogated why. I assume it's because you're very unhappy in life. But
that's accurate.
Okay, good. Then we don't need to go into it. But here's what I'll tell you. You probably like me are somebody who like from the very beginning of virtual worlds was like, I'm going in that virtual world. I'm going to live in that virtual world. I'm going to snow crash, baby. I'm going to, I'm going to Second Life. I'm going to do all these things.
I'm going to Ready Player One.
I'm going to ready that Player One. And then you get into something like Second Life or VR chat or any of these or any of these sort of things, or even VR games now. It's not the same as interacting with a physical thing. I think for the effort that you're putting into interacting with this digital recreation, which you cannot really feel, smell, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You can look at it and you can hear it for sure. That's not going to do much more for you than taking a photo of it. And I wonder what the work level is to scan your Garfield, to add the points of articulation, to do all this stuff, to put on your heavy helmet, to boot it up, to go into the InteRecon app, to spin around a 3D model of a Garfield, when you could have looked at a picture.
Yeah.
That's where I come from, because it's about, like, when you say it's a scan of my stuffy that has the missing eye. Just a picture of the stuffy with the missing eye is going to bring back the memory of how you scratch the eye and all that stuff. I don't think you need a 3D recreation with a headset that costs hundreds of dollars and a thing that you had to scan with your phone and clean up the scan and all this stuff. It's just a photo.
I mean, I think you make legitimate points for sure. I think this is
thank you. That's the end, folks.
This is baby steps toward where they want to be, where I think we will all be at some point.
Sure.
And yes, it's cumbersome and it's labor intensive now. The way that InteRecon works, they put out a video that uses just the best AI VO voice.
Oh, good.
Just seamless.
Perfect.
But it doesn't. You're right. It is very very clumsy right now. Very you have to literally tell it how the behaviors are going to be. But what they want is to get to a position where you will just hold up the item to the app, show it how it works, and it'll extrapolate all that.
Sure.
Right? So,
like Peter Molyneux with the Kinect.
Yeah. Yes. But and so who knows if that's achievable in the short term? But I would like to imagine that this is a trivial and seamless process at some point. Mm-hmm. And so that's the question that this brought up to me, is like, yes, is InteRecon the solution right now? No. Is it's low res, it's kind of janky, it's not where you want to be, but I think it is suggesting a future that I'm curious is worthwhile to even shoot for, because I do think the notion of, so right now in VR, picking something up and looking at it up close and rotating it in my hand is already, I think, impressive and substantive. Like any video game that has like an object in it that you can pick up and look at up close, and your glove or your hand or your weapon or your they'll have like little figurines in the game you can pick up. It is different than looking at it on a 2D surface.
Sure. And
I do think there'd be something neat about having something that was lost to me. Like, I'm also old enough.
I'll tell you what.
Let me just say this real quick. We're talking about how old I am lately.
Sure.
I'm also old enough that I remember my dad telling me that anytime I got a new piece of software, I had to make a backup copy and only play off that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We take all those 3.5-inch floppies, flick the little copy protection nubbin down, and don't use those. Use the backup that you made. So this could be the kind of thing where you like get something precious, you make the copy of it, and then you have that forever, like frozen in carbonite,
Yeah, I guess. Sure. I don't know. I think listen, I'll tell you what.
So not into this.
I'll tell you what. I'll be super generous. I'll let you take a photo of the front and the back of the thing. I'll tell you what. If it's something that's particularly that has a particular amount of depth, I'll even let you take a photo of the side. You can take a photo of the top and the bottom if you want. I think based on, and I'm somebody who's, played a lot of VR stuff too, and I enjoy it. But when I pick up an object in VR, I'm holding, let's see, like this fan is pretty close to a VR controller. It's just a paddle. You hold the paddle and you push the trigger underneath with your pointer that says, I'm gripping an object. And then you reach down with your paddle and you pick up and you're gripping the object. And you go like this with the paddle in your hand and it spins the object. And then you accidentally let up on the trigger a little bit and you drop the thing and you're not holding it. You're not feeling it. It's not in your hands. I get what you're saying where like eventually you'd like these backups that you can pick up and feel and touch. And I think, if and when we get to that point, I think that is cool. We'll get into the philosophical issues I have with people scanning everything and looking at everything they used to do instead of doing new shit. But for right now, what I'll say is like, we're a long way from there.
Okay.
That's what I'll say. We're a long way from there. And this does still feel to me, based on everything you're saying, like any other accessible to everyone game development or programming tool that has come out of MIT, right? This to me is the 3D modeling version of MIT Scratch, which if you're not familiar with Scratch is like making games. But the way you make games is instead of like through direct coding, there are blocks. And you take the blocks and one block says that like, I'm going to manipulate this variable in this way. And you connect the blocks together and it becomes a game. This to me is like the 3D modeling and animation side of that. This to me feels like an accessible way to make objects for games. I am not seeing the beautiful trip down memory lane yet.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm not going to argue with any of that.
Good.
But
because I'll fight you.
Yeah, clearly. But their long-term goal is also to have the situation where you could then communicate this to a 3D printer. 3D printer could then recreate the object. So you're getting sort of like a Star Trek replicator type of situation where this thing that I used to have, now I can have again.
Sure.
Obviously still a long way from that as well.
Yeah.
But, and then, they also are hoping to, integrate it with LLMs to get to a point where you could just describe something that you remember. Yeah. And it builds it functionally in virtual reality for you as well. And again, you're right that these have different applications than just sparking memory.
Thank God you added an LLM to it. Thank God you added AI to it. Whew. Just when I didn't like the idea.
I know. Hey, dude, I understand the objections. But I do think there's something to the notion, and this is kind of what I wanted to get at. Like, am I advocating for this particular technology right this second? I am not. But it suggests to me a place that we're potentially heading. Like, this is the baby step towards something that I'm curious. Like, it seems like you don't even have any interest in that destination. You don't have any interest in I can put on a pair of glasses, let's say, or whatever, like what's our sci-fi future, and be transported into, looking around at your bedroom from when you were a kid.
Sure. You remember I think it was the first season of Black Mirror where everybody had the contact lenses where they could see their memories. And the guy's having sex with his wife, but he's watching video of him having sex with his wife like 20 years earlier. Yeah. That's this technology to me. I think that certainly I just went home to the neighborhood I grew up in for the first time, and I haven't been there in maybe 10, 12 years, right? And it was lovely to walk around and see places and be like, oh my God, yeah, I totally forgot about this thing. Or I forgot there's this little bridge in the back of the neighborhood that we used to ride our bikes down. There's where they closed one Starbucks and there's where they opened another Starbucks, all the lovely things about suburban life. And that kind of stuff is nice. I have a tendency, I do understand why that stuff is cool. I also think that stuff is cool when you think about things like art history. When you think about things like,
Right.
right
Yeah.
now there are a lot of museums that that commission 3D recreations of spaces or 3D recreations of art the way it used to be. And you can go through in VR and be like, this is what this building used to look like 300 years ago. That kind of stuff is very, very cool. I think like, I guess for me, and I'll be honest, maybe this has something to do with the fact that number one, my memory used to be pretty photographic for a lot of stuff. And at that point, I think I wouldn't have seen any point for this because I already remember a lot of the stuff that I want to remember. But then now, as somebody who has a really terrible memory after getting sick, I also don't care about it. because I think losing that sort of near photographic memory for things has made me realize like how much comparison to the past we already participate in, and how much longing for the past I think we already participate in. I think we're at a point in time, and I think we're at a point in time right now because things are very, very socially and culturally weird for a lot of people. I think we're also in a time where people are reaching back into nostalgia a lot, and we're having nostalgia marketed to us quite a bit these days. And I think when you put all that stuff together, I sort of look at it and go, let's spend some time in the now is where I come from.
I suspect everybody listening to this is going to be agreeing with you, and everybody listening to this is going to consider.
No, I
this
don't
notion.
think everybody. I think it's going to be half and half the way we are, because I totally understand where you're coming from. I just and I get it. I just disagree personally. I'm not interested.
I think there's certainly value to what you're talking about. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
Live in the now. I am somebody who has never been blessed with a photographic memory. In fact, my memory has always been trash. And I feel the loss of things. And I've gotten to the point in my life where wrestling with the passage of time is a big deal. Like, it's a bigger deal than it has ever been. Right?
Because you'll be dead soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Because you're old and you're going to be dead soon.
The midlife crisis is a real thing, man. And you start going, man, it feels like the blink of an eye that all this happened, and I don't recall it. And I also, married to that, I'm existing in a time when there has never been more record of the moment to moment of my life.
Yeah.
But all of it stops at a certain point, right? I had kids in 2016.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many years before that. 5. I started like having pictures all day, every day, all day being taken of my life. But before that, there's like a handful of pictures a year, right?
Yeah, and let's dip back into that for a moment, because I do want to talk about what we do when we have the ability to record importance and human memory. Because, like you're saying, you go back and you think about like, oh, and then I started documenting my life. And I wish I had that sort of level of documentation. Buddy,
yes.
Let me direct you to any year before 2010 on your Facebook page, when you would go out, when you would go out with a digital camera and take 300 photos a night, going to the same bar that you went to with your friends every night. And then you would go home drunk. I had to explain this to somebody was in their early 20s. I was like, you would go home drunk, connect your camera to USB, and it would be set up to automatically make a Facebook album of every single one of those 300 photos. And you would wake up the next day and you would have posted 300 photos of you and the same people in the same bar. It's the same. You go back through every one of those albums and it's the same shit, my dude. And this is what I'm talking about when there's a difference between a museum going, this is what the Great Palace looked like before the bombs fell. This is it. And you can walk through it and we've saved it, versus this is the Museum of Steve. Steve,
dude, hey,
the Museum of Steve on Tuesday, he went to Taco Tuesday again. Here's the Hall of Taco Tuesday. And you're walking down terabytes of Steve, and it's literally him in the same fucking flannel shirt with the same fucking people eating the same 3 tacos, because Steve is not a very adventurous eater. And you just go through it. And it's like, there's the night we did shots. Steve, we did shots every Taco Tuesday. Like, and then it's like the saving of every individual. We don't know what's worth saving. We don't. And so we save everything when we're given the opportunity. And then you go back through it. It's like those albums that your iPhone makes for you. And it's like, hey, we call this one Memories of Wednesday. And then it plays
those.
And then it plays like whoop boop boo. And it's like mostly screenshots.
Oh, that was the Wednesday song. I remember that.
It's mostly screenshots you took of emails that have confirmation numbers that you needed to go to an office that day. And it's like, boo, boo, boo,
dude, I remember that the day that I needed to confirm that. Oh, yeah. I wasn't going to think about that confirmation unless Google reminded me with its Wednesday. You mock it, but hey, I'm just not that cynical. I am totally down for a museum of me. Call me narcissistic. I will.
Okay, you're
wear
narcissistic.
That badge, sadly, I am. But like, I love going to a museum. I love seeing antiquities, but I'm down for a museum of me. I have lived a life. This is the only one I get. So remind me of the things that I experienced in the past. Stir some recollection of something that I wouldn't recall otherwise. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Eventually,
I like that idea.
I know, and I get what you're saying, because eventually we will get to the point where we've got the brain implants or the contact lenses or whatever it is we're doing, and the technology is smart enough and it makes enough sense to where instead of playing boo 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 and showing you a bunch of bullshit like, what section of the parking garage you're in, it will know what object was important to you that day, and it will save that automatically. Right. And I guess this is where I'm coming from. If I had to boil it down, we cannot be the curators of our own museums of us. We cannot. We are unable to do it. If you are the curator of your own museum, you're going to go through your apartment right now and you're going to scan every goddamn thing. And then you're going to try to go back through it. And it's like you're either going to realize that all of this shit is unimportant, or you are so narcissistic that you'll spend a lot of your day flipping through unimportant garbage that you scan. It's
the latter.
Yeah. Somebody else needs to be the curator of the museum of you, unfortunately.
I'm fine with that. I think that's just a different issue. I don't know about you,
but it is an issue with this current version of the technology, because not only does it require you to be the curator of the museum of you, you also have to be the guy that restores the art. You have to be the social media team. It's asking you to scan it, clean the scan, add the articulation.
I agree.
If it's a lot. It's a lot, dude. You might as well listen. You're getting a second job in game development. You should get paid for that.
Yeah. I'm just meticulously recreating my world. But again, they want it to be seamless and easy, of course.
Download Gary's mod, Jeff. You're going to have a good time.
I want Jeff's mod.
Jeff's mod is you're in that grassy field from Gary's mod, but when you push a button, 100,000 crumble cookies fall from the sky.
Oh, yeah.
That's Jeff's mod.
Good.
Hey,
that would be
hey,
good.
This is an aside. I'm going to stick a pin in the important part that we were getting to, and I'm going to tell you this. The Starbucks that I used to work in as a teen has been removed and is now a crumble cookie. And I said,
that's an upgrade.
That's an upgrade. I was like, Mom, do you know how close you are to a crumble cookie? And she's like, what's a crumble cookie? I'm like, forget I even said anything.
Yeah. Best to save her.
Yeah. 100%.
I agree. I don't know about you, Anthony. I suspect you
should. We've been working together for 10 years. You should know. I don't know
anything about you. I try to.
This is why you need to scan things.
That's right. I don't pay attention at all to anything or people.
There we go. We just got to the crux of it.
Yeah. Let's talk about crumble cookies some more. Maybe I'm weird, but every time I've ever moved out of an apartment, I've taken pictures of the apartment. it doesn't give me the feel of what it was like to be in that apartment. I never look at those pictures, and I never get the sensation that I had of being in that apartment, which is a thing that I actually value. I'm in my second home that I've ever owned. The first home that I ever owned with my wife and I. Oh, it's way bigger than the first one too.
Yeah. Tell them about the movie theater, Jeff.
Yeah, it's got a movie theater. The first house I ever owned was where my kids were born, basically, And I remember when we were moving out of that house, I cried, right? It's a place that has ghosts for me, right? And I took a video like walking around the house. But if I could put my VR headset on today and stand in it and look around, I would value that.
Sure.
And that's one of the things these guys are talking about too, is like they want to have it so you can like walk through a space and then it'll like see a door and it'll make the door open and closable, and all the functional stuff is what InteRecon is trying to add to the equation.
Yeah. I wish they had honestly, the further we go into this, the more I wish they had like a nicer, fuzzier name. InteRecon
it's a terrible name.
InteRecon just sounds like, yeah, we're going to scan your house for your memories and also so we know everything about you.
Yes. I don't understand.
We're collecting all of the data on how the humans live their lives.
How is there nobody at MIT that takes a freaking branding class? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not really what they're about. I mean,
I feel like just add that into the curriculum.
Sure.
Just like a half unit, half unit of branding.
Are you saying that the engineering school needs at least a semester of here's how other humans think? Bold statement, Jeff. You might be the first. No, I get where you're coming from. And that's the thing. And that's why I'm like, oh, this needs to be automatic and it needs to have some sort of curation, because there is value in being able to stand in a 3D recreation of like your childhood home and look around. There is diminishing value in having each individual object of that childhood home. You know what I mean? Are you going to get more of an emotional reaction from walking through the house and opening the drawer and being like, and this is our flatware? Or is it just like, you want to be in the middle of a 3D recreation of the space that you can spin around once? You know what I mean?
I mean, I think it would be rad. I'm a sicko on this.
What if it was old school CD-ROM style, and it was a bunch of still photos, but you had to click in cardinal directions, and they did a weird zoom.
This is your flatware. Just zoomed in on the flatware.
Yeah, it would zoom in on the flatware, and then it would have like a weird 3D hand come in and turn the spoon around and be like, "This is my spoon." And it would have like a weird early like reflection in it.
Spoon.
Yeah.
I am a sicko in that I would be down for being able to open the cupboard and being like, oh, that's the stuff we had in the cupboard. And oh, that's where mom kept the thing. And there's the hat still hanging on the wall.
I want you to know that I'm going to visit you in the old folks home. I am.
Okay.
I'll be there for you, bud.
You're going to feed me my Jell-O pudding?
Yeah. I'll feed you your Jell-O pudding. I'll get you a snack pack. I'll get you a snack pack and I'll put your VR goggles on you and I'll be like, look, ooh, this is what the room where you used to wear your VR goggles all day looked like.
That's right. There's my other older VR goggles. Look, there's my stacks of older, non-functional VR goggles.
You can put on your new
meticulously modeled in this VR goggle.
That's right. You can put on whatever the newest VR goggles are, and you can spin around your Apple Vision Pro that you used 3 times.
Oh, do you remember it? Oh, it's so expensive.
I don't know.
Look, here's virtual money that I spent on it. Look, it's on fire.
Can we get our money back for the Museum of Jeff? We got in free. It's student admission day. Can I tear up my diploma? Yeah, I am interested in knowing. I feel like this is going to be a pretty 50-50 split. I think people are going to be very against you on this. I believe that it's going to be halvesies. I really do.
I'm curious about that. I would love to get a little support, because I feel like yours is I can even recognize a rational take on this.
Mhm.
Like it kind of sucks now. Right? It kind of sucks.
I get that if you look at what I'm saying rationally, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I get that if you logically look at what I'm saying, it's trash. Like, I get
But
that.
but like
Here's the thing. I know
illogically,
that what
like
I'm-
if you set aside logic
I know
and
what I'm
reason,
saying is absolute hot garbage on fire. But
but if you imagine what it could be, it still might be offensive. But then,
yeah, I am interested to know if you want to talk to other concerned citizens about this. A great place to do it would be the Discord.
yeah, that's really where all the concerned citizens hang out. The coolest of the cools. You can find stories like this one, other stories that people are posting. You can find all kinds of interesting other topics and discussion about our episodes. But it's not just for everybody. You have to be super cool.
Ooh, and how do you be super cool? You give us money.
Yeah. You give us money. $1 a month gets you access to that Discord. It's such a low barrier to entry. You got to have that barrier to keep out the uncools.
That's right.
But hey, if you can surpass that barrier, if you can support this show, if you care about what we're talking about, even if it's, unrealistic, you can support this show at a higher level and get even cooler stuff.
That's right. $3 a month. You get all kinds of like fun little bonus audio, all the stuff that we're talking about at the beginning of the episode. Those are whole conversations and they exist as bonus episodes. And then at $5 a month, you get videos of each episode, bonus content with past guests, and so much more. Go check it out at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.